Alright, this video is for YouTube. We're going to be showing everyone today how to make a rocket stove. These are all the parts you need to make a rocket stove. We got a bag of vermiculite, a 6-inch stovepipe, a Marley dog, an elbow, stovepipe 90 degree. We got our 6-gallon steel bucket, and we have a grill grate. We got the bucket and the grill grate from Home Depot, and we got all the other parts here from Menards. You can also get the 20-gallon bucket, steel bucket from Menards if you want to go with a bigger one. We're going smaller, something portable. Before we get started showing you how to build it, we'll go over here. And there is our functioning rocket stove. We're burning a couple gallons of water there, seeing how long it takes to boil. Got the rocket stove fired up. We'll show that again a little bit later. Alright, we're back here. What we did was just cut a hole in the bucket. We cut it a 6-inch diameter hole right there in the side, 1 inch up from the bottom of the bucket. This is where our stovepipe is going to go in. You can see there, we got it 1 inch up from the bottom of the bucket. So what you're going to do is just measure 4 inches up from the bottom of the bucket, and you're going to drill a center hole there. Once you drill that hole, you'll get a pair of tin snips, and you'll just start tin snipping out kind of in a little circle here. And you're just going to keep widening that circle until you get your edge. Really important note, when you're doing that, you're going to probably want to wear gloves. That metal gets a little bit sharp there as you're cutting it. So the next thing we're going to do here is get ready to put our stovepipe in. Alright, before we put the pipe in, what we're going to do is we're going to cut the lid. We're going to cut a 6-inch hole in the top of the lid. If you get this can here from Home Depot, high grade steel, what is that, a Burns? Whatever it is. You'll notice on the can there's some ridges there. That first ridge is your 6 inches. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your tin snips. You're just going to cut there. That's going to be for the pipe, the stove pipe, for the top of your rocket stove there. So we're going to go ahead and just cut that out 6 inches. He's a much better cutter than I am here for this precision cutting. When I cut stuff, I butcher it. So we're going to go ahead and cut that out, and we'll be doing the pipe from there. Alright, once we have that center hole cut out, we're going to draw a line, if you can see it right here. We drew that 5/16 of an inch from the edge of the can. We're going to use this lid is going to go down inside the bucket when we pack the vermiculite in there. That's going to be your barrier between the frame and the vermiculite.
Show how I'm doing this. Show how I'm scribing here so they understand how I'm dragging my finger across here.
So we just measured out 5/16 of an inch on the marker and then just used this finger as the guide right along the edge of the can. And then we're going to do what we did before. We're just going to start cutting. Always a good idea to have a little scrap box there so you don't have sharp pieces of steel laying on the ground all over the place. And he's just going to work around that 5/16 of an inch tracing there. He's making it look a little easier than it is. Not a lot of blood yet. Just a reminder, typically you're going to want to wear gloves. That steel's very, very sharp. When you cut it, it's not going to be perfectly smooth. You can see we got some pretty sharp, jagged edges there. So if you're making this, I don't want anyone trying to hunt us down and sue us because they didn't wear gloves and they lost a finger in the process. Not responsible for lost limbs or blood loss over half a cup. And we're back. We got it cut out there, and we just push that lid down in the bucket. So up to this point, here's what you have. You got your hole in the side, 6 inches. Your pipe's going to go in there. You're going to put your 90-degree angle in there. Then you're going to have your second pipe coming up the top here. It's going to come out here. So that's pretty much the housing, pretty much complete there for the rocket stove. And we'll be back here when we start on the next part. We're going to take a little break from this and go back over to our functioning rocket stove. And as you can see, if you can see the lighting out here, that thing is boiling hard. These rocket stoves will put off significantly more heat than your gas range will. We're getting some smoke there because we're starving it from oxygen. The pipe is too close, but you can maybe see, probably not because of the lighting. That flame is just jetting out of there. I mean, jetting out. And as you can see down here, all it takes is just little pieces of kindling to do it. It's a very fuel efficient way to burn and cook, heat.
If you want to show the flames going out with that off. Where the hell did it goes?
There we go. We got the pot taken off so you guys can see the way it works. Basically, it's creating a suction from the intake, and it's just bringing the air through it, and that's where you're getting all that velocity from there on the flames. That's why we call it a rocket stove. You can actually feel the air intake across your hand there when you put it down there as it's sucking air in to fuel the fire, and then blasting it out the top. So we got that fire going pretty hot right now. Got that water burning, no problem. Great way to boil water for purification. Also a great way to cook food in the field. There goes just in the wood. But anyway, just to get a look at the finished product and what it's capable of doing, it's a pretty impressive piece of equipment. Got it? Alrighty, we'll go back to building our new rocket stove. What we're going to get ready to do here is cut our stovepipe for the rocket stove. A good way to trace, go around buddy here, good way to trace where you're going to make the cut is to get a piece of board and cut it. See how I cut it straight there on the end? This way we get a nice even line all the way around. It's a good way to get a good round line around something that's cylindrical. So what's the length we're measuring on that?
6 3/8, and this piece is for the fuel intake pipe.
Okay, there you have it. Our fuel intake pipe is going to be 6 3/8 inches. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure 6 3/8 inches and then put our cardboard wrapped around. It goes all the way around the pipe. And you can see we got the lines pretty clear there. So we can see where we're cutting.
3 1/4 off this side.
Then that's for the
riser.
So we're going to do 3 1/4 inch. So we can really get it away with one stovepipe here, just making several cuts. And then you'll have some extra. So 3 1/4 inch off the riser. And again, we're just going to trace that line around. It's pretty hard to draw a straight line on something cylindrical, so that's why we're using the cardboard here. We also support Coca-Cola.
That's not good for you too.
No, yeah, probably not. Guess we're not supposed to support Coca-Cola. I support whatever's on sale, so Pepsi works good for me too. Alright, I'm just going to show this here. I'm not going to be able to show doing it because I don't have enough hands. But we're going to make the cut there. There's a couple ways you can do it. You can get a really good pair of tin snips and do it. I'm a little bit lazy, so I got us a grinder here. These things are great for cutting anything metal as long as it's not a 5-inch plate industrial work. This will blast right through a padlock. Takes about 4 seconds, so it'll cut through stovepipe like a hot knife through butter. I'm going to need both hands to do this safely, so I am not going to demonstrate how to cut it. If you have one of these, you know how to use it. And we'll be right back. And I was wrong, we did find a way to record it, and that is the lazy man's way. Far superior to tin snips. And you get a nice clean cut. Right here, trying to keep the video short, so we're just kind of cutting in and out. Right here, we're sanding down the rough edges on the feed tube. This part's going to be exposed, so you want that kind of smoothed out, jagged edges there. Probably not a good thing. So we're going to sand those down. Okay, so we're going to put our riser, which is our shorter piece. It's going right on top of our 90. That's pretty much what our rocket stove is. So that's how it's going to look inside the bucket. Okay, our next step here, we're going to put a couple screws in it to hold it all together so that our pieces don't fall apart. Top. And we're not going to spend too much time here for the interest of keeping this reasonably short, or short as we can. Okay, this part might take a little trial and error here, so this is take one of trying to put together a rocket stove. We just drop it in through the top, and we're going to pull the pipe out. It's going to require a little bit of tender loving banging. Alright, and there she goes. That just took about a minute. Not too bad. Once we're all together, we put our lid, make sure that's going to fit before we seal it up with the vermiculite, insulate it. And that's what she's going to look like. So our next step, we're just going to get some vermiculite, which is over here. That is 3 cubic feet from Menards. That's way more than you need, so grab a buddy or make a couple of them, or you're going to have a lot of extra vermiculite. So what we're going to do is we're going to pack that down here in this bucket. That's going to be our insulator. Alright, making sure everything's still lined up. We got a little bit of vermiculite in there. When you pour it in, you're going to want to work it around in there with your hand. Make sure you get it under the stovepipe and all the way around, so it's completely filled. Whoop! That'll happen. We've been informed that this stuff is not exactly the best thing to be inhaling and breathing in. We have some left over from a previous stove. It looks like we're going to need a... Well, we may be able to do it with this. Yeah. So we'll have to pop another bag just to fill it completely. But you get the idea here. So we'll come back with the next phase. Okay, so we got the vermiculite in there. Now all we're going to do is put the lid on. Lid goes on. Now if you notice, if you put the lid on upside down, it'll funnel in towards your chimney there. So you want to make sure you put it on right side up. We've had people make that mistake before. That way, any water that comes down, if it's drizzling, raining outside, any kind of water that comes down is going to roll away. There it goes.
I think I need to shorten this, dude. I gotta cut it down.
You gotta trim it up a little bit. So I'm just gonna trim that up so it fits on. And that'll be your completed rocket stove. You can pick up this grate from Home Depot. Goes on a Weber grill. Fits on there perfectly, so you have a cooking surface. You may not want to cook directly on the grill, but it's good for putting a pan on in there or putting a pot on to boil water. So we demonstrated how that rocket stove fires up and how it works. As soon as we get this trimmed up, we'll show the completed project here. And now you know how to build a rocket stove. Okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to drill a couple small holes in the side of the bucket. Let me get around and get a better angle here. And we're just drilling those holes through so we can wire the grill down onto it. And this will pretty much be the completed rocket stove. Now there's going to be one other part we're going to make here to go with the rocket stove. And we'll show that. That's so you can get good airflow in there. We're going to wire this grill down and then we'll pull that up. And that'll be the last part. Okay, this is the last part. We're going to make the fuel shelf. What we're doing is we're taking the stovepipe that we cut off originally and we're going to peel it apart. It just kind of clips together. That's how stovepipe, how it works. You can see it clips together. When you get it, it won't be clipped together. You'll have to clip it together, make your cuts. And then what we're going to do is, this is the extra portion of it. He's unclipping it, taking it all apart here. And it's going to come apart. Like I said, when you buy it, you know, it's going to be cylindrical, but you can see here how it's not clipped together. That's just how it comes. So you'll have to clip it together, make your cuts. When you're done, this is what's left over. We got extras there. This little piece is what's left over after we cut. We're going to use this to make our fuel shelf. The idea of the fuel shelf is that when we put it in, you can see on our completed rocket stove over here. Get down there so you can see it a little. That fuel shelf should go, it should be probably a little higher, about halfway. We burn our fuel on top of that, and the air can be sucked in underneath it. That way, if you stuff that full of wood, sticks, whatever you're using for fuel, you still have good airflow. So what are we doing there?
2 inches here. 9 inches. Use the heavier rib side so it wants to stay flat. And we want to measure back 7 inches here. Clear that up. And here goes 6. So this is 9. Center. 3 inches either way.
Okay, so what he's measuring out here to cut is going to be this guy right here. Those are the dimensions he gave you. 5 3/16. I think we're actually going to try and go 6 inches even on it this time, and deviate a little. That way the shelf sits, because we're 6 inches diameter on the hole. So if it's 6 inches, it'll make it sit a little bit more in the middle rather than sinking down. So we're going to try 6 inches this time, and deviate from the schematics a bit. We got 2 inches. There's your 9 inches. Then again, we're 2 inches there.
I'm going longer too. You can always cut it off.
So that's our template. That's what we're going to cut. If you've made it this far, you probably know how to cut at this point, so I will hold here. Okay, so we've got a cut there. It's fitting in pretty good. I think the pipe seems to be getting a little bit narrower as you go in. So what we're going to do is just taper the end that's going in.
It's right in the elbow a little bit.
Right into our fuel intake. So that's our fuel shelf. It's still riding a little bit low, but you should be able to get sufficient airflow through there. So the better our airflow, the less exhaust we're going to have. Ideally, this would produce almost no exhaust. You can, some people say you can burn it inside your home without fear of gassing yourself out there. I'm not sure. I would trust that, but that might be something for a future project, rigging up an exhaust. How far can this blow horizontally? You said someone mentioned 50 feet. It can blow horizontally because of its.
This one can do 20 feet.
All right, here's another rocket stove. This one cooks meals on. Fuel goes in there. This one can blow 20 feet horizontally. So it should have sufficient. You should be able to rig some type of an exhaust system on it, but that's something we're gonna play with in the future for an emergency heating element for the home.